With that down, Chris, what is our first main topic today?
First one is from Mark Badolato. Deadline is reporting that Joker will be returning $500 million in profits for the studio. While this film has been billed as a standalone movie, will Warner Brothers convince Phillips and Phoenix to return for a sequel? And if so, where do you think the story can go from there? Thank you. All right, John, your favorite thing has been this being like a standalone thing when we've talked about this. Yes. Do you think there's going to be a sequel, though?
Look, listen, I have said from the beginning that the thing about this whole thing, and let me bring up the Joker box office here for a second, because I just want to get a number right now of where they're actually at. Because last time I checked, it was at like 750. Yeah, it's still sitting, technically the amount is still sitting at $745 million. That's going to go up. It's going to become the number one box office R-rated film of all time. It's going to pass Deadpool. I still don't think it'll get to $1 billion, but it still has a chance at that as well. This movie is crazy profitable because it's not just the amount of money it's making. It's also the crazy amount of how little it costs to make. And this movie is rapidly approaching not just, look, if you can make a movie and make it to the point that you have made $50 million in profit, that's amazing. This thing's approaching $500 million in profit, which is absolutely nuts. You think Paramount would like a little bit of that cheddar right now? Paramount would love some of that right now, especially with the bath they're taking on Gemini Man at the moment. And it's great. Look, we always knew this movie would do well. I honestly didn't think with it being R-rated and being heavier, I didn't know if it would appeal to enough of the general audience to get it to these sorts of numbers. I knew it would do well, be successful. I was excited about it. Now, I've always said, as Chris alluded to, that one of the things that I've been most excited about this Joker movie is the fact that it is a standalone movie. Finally, something that isn't a franchise or part of a stupid shared cinematic universe. I love shared cinematic universes, but I just want some true standalone films too. It gives you a lot of creativity because I'll tell you what, you couldn't have made this movie in the DCEU. Not with the existing world that world is. You couldn't have made this movie in that world. You needed to get it out of the cinematic universe to give creative freedom to some filmmakers to tell a great standalone story. So I've always said, no, they're not going to do a sequel to this. They've insisted that. They're not going to go to that and all this kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is this. Dump trucks full of money have a way of changing one's life's perspective. And when you get a movie that is now, again, in the $500 million in profit range, you can't deny that there has to be, at this point, at least some conversations going on over at WB about, maybe we should make another one of these. I don't want them to. I want to just treasure this as a true standalone movie. I loved it. I think the novelty is done. This was a treasure of a movie. It's my number one favorite comic book movie of the year, but I do want them to leave well enough alone. But even I gotta say, there has to be conversations going on. I would give it probably a 30% chance that there's going to be a sequel. And not long ago, I would have said 5% chance, but now I got to go all the way up to like 30. Look, this money talks. And when you're talking about money of this value, of this amount, I don't want it, but I can't blame them to consider it. I don't know, Aaron. First of all, what are you thinking about? Did you think a movie like Joker, about a villain, R-rated, very heavy, could have made this type of money? And do you think this is going to kind of force their hand into going into sequelville?
Yeah, I don't think that anyone, no matter how successful someone may have predicted the movie would have been, I would be shocked if anyone could have predicted this kind of success, given exactly what you were just saying, the dark nature of the film, the fact that it is a standalone movie and you don't have the not even periphery, but the more popular characters of Batman, to fill in the enthusiasm for it. And also, let's not forget, like, Joaquin Phoenix is considered a brilliant actor, but it's not necessarily like people are like, oh my God, I can't wait to go see the new Joaquin Phoenix film. He's not one of those guys that's constantly out hustling and, on the talk show circuit to, pump up his movies. And even when he is on the talk shows, he's a little like awkward and clearly doesn't want to be there. So I'm really surprised at this level of success, but I think it's wonderful. What I I want to say I don't think that there will be a sequel. Obviously, those conversations are happening. Everybody at Warner Brothers is just salivating right now and probably willing to give up their first and second born child to Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix in order to make this happen. What I see more happening, I don't see Joaquin Phoenix wanting to do a second Joker. And the only way that it would happen, in my opinion, is if they had some incredible story that made it make sense. And I think that rushing into some sort of story to make a sequel just for the sake of profitability is not something that either Todd Phillips or Joaquin Phoenix want to do. What I would see more happening is Warner Brothers saying, okay, Todd, can you do this with any other characters? And perhaps almost creating another world where we have these backstories and really get into the psychology and create almost a whole new genre within the comic book world. I see that more happening versus a sequel.
The fear I have of that is that I'm afraid of it then just them doing a cookie cutter copy repeat. Now let's just do the same thing with Riddler.
Agree.
Now let's do the same thing with Penguin. And I'm also afraid that if you do a sequel to this, one of the brilliant things about Joker was that it's a comic book movie, but it's very much not a comic book movie.
Exactly.
And I'm afraid that now you've got to this point, going any further, now you're just getting into traditional comic book movie territory. Now he has to become the clown prince of crime. You've done all the setup, now you got to do this. And I'm a little nervous about that. But Chris, do you think at this point, do you think they'll hold their ground and go, nope, this was meant as a one-shot, we're sticking with that? Or do you think this type of money makes them have to reconsider that position? What do you think they're going to do?
I really think they're going to stand their ground on this one. I mean, Phoenix gave up doing the MCU because he didn't want to do a whole bunch of movies. He didn't want to be contractually obligated to stuff because you don't see those scripts at a time. He passed on Doctor Strange. And, you know, they could probably do something here where they could Parnassus it a bit, give us somebody else in Arthur's shoes, you know? We could maybe do something where we explore different types of Jokers, because that's always been a thing, too, is we don't have an actual set origin story with this character. That's one of the great things about the comics, is we keep it pretty mysterious. So we could have people popping in and out being the Joker. But again, that could lead to those cookie cutter films. I say, truly go Highlander. There can be only one. Don't do this Highlander 2 nonsense. Stick with it, guys.
Chris, what was that word that you
Parnassus, the movie where it started out with Heath Ledger, right? And then they had
a whole bunch of people.
They had Johnny Depp in there.
Oh, right, and Kate Blanchett. And,
yeah.
Okay.
And so a whole bunch of different people jumped in.
I see. Okay, got it.
So the question here is, guys, what do you think? Number one, what do you think they should do about this? Number two, what do you think they will do about it? Because those are two separate questions, quite often with two separate answers. Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.